So welcome to another mod video. You guys love these videos as much as I love making them because it's so much fun to do something creative, learn as I go as well, and teach you guys things, and you guys help me with things along the way as well. And it's just hopefully give you some inspiration or just to have a bit of fun watching someone mess about with a watch with a few basic tools who's only been doing this for a few months, to show you when you just give it a go what we can come up with. So this watch, let's have a look at this to get started. I often use as a base, and I've done this a few times, I use the Pagani Designs because I got this one shipped from Europe within a week for less than £60. So it's a really good value base watch. So if you totally mess it up, it's not the end of the world, it's not too much money. So I was going to do a quick recap if you've not seen one of these watches before. It's Pagani Design, it's the PD1651 model. It's paying strong homage to a Rolex Yachtmaster. And what we have here is a ceramic bezel insert, which is unidirectional, 60 click. The bezel action's generally okay on these. This one's very good on this one. There's no back play at all. There's the usual wobble you get. See here, there's a bit of play if you move it, but that's if you're really messing about with the watch. But remember, this is less than £60, this watch. And then we've got screw down crown, 100 meters water resistance. We have sapphire crystal, and we have, which is the main reason why I get these, the Seiko NH35 movement. And that is a great movement because there's so many aftermarket parts that you can buy to install onto one of these watches. Perfectly aligned for a change, Cyclops, 2.5 times magnification for the date complication, but I'm taking that off because my mod is I'm going for a more sterile design on this new model I'm going to be creating. It's going to be a lot more simplistic and unique in design. That's the new way I'm going to do it. So here's a quick little slideshow of the watch in its standard form. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to take this watch apart. Now, modding is a step-by-step process, and I'm hoping my way of doing this is just to give you a bit of an indication of steps that you can take to give this a go yourself. So the first thing I'm going to do is, as I will ultimately be changing this bracelet to something else, is I'm going to take this off. And I have these on my store. These are premium spring bar removal tools. You've got different heads and adjustment pieces you can put in. So I'm going to take this strap off, this bracelet. What you do is you get your tool in there, you release the spring bars, and then once it's released, it's easier to get to the other side to do the same. Then all your spare parts, such as this and the spring bars, put them aside. First thing I need to do next is I'm going to be taking the movement out of this watch. So get yourself a little bag, and then if you've got one of these case back removal tools, it's good to have it all set up ready beforehand. So you then place the bag over, so if you slip, you don't scratch the watch, and then it slots into all these little gaps. Then you can, it's always stiff. I haven't opened this for the first time yet, so you can get a good purchase on it. And as you can see, we've started to unscrew the case back, put that aside, and then we can finish the last bit of unscrewing by hand. And then there we go, we place that face down so we don't gather any dust. And then be careful not to lose the little seal, little gasket. As you can see here, it's come loose. And then we place that carefully aside as well. Put that with the case back as well. So now we have this exposed, we're going to need to remove the crown. So I've already got it unscrewed. Now I'm starting to get into the nitty gritty. I'm going to put these on. These are called finger cots, and I've got the extra large ones. Not because I've got extra large fingers, because I previously bought just the regular size ones, and they basically were so tight I was starting to lose feeling in my fingers. This is so you don't get oils and contaminants and bits of skin come from your hands onto anything delicate on the watch, because you don't want that. But one thing I've noticed already, I haven't touched the back at the inside of this watch yet. It's already got something on it. Don't know what that is, but I'm going to be able to clean that off, one way of giving it a clean is use this. This is called Rodico from Bergion. So it's a bit tricky, it's sticking to the finger cots, but we can get this shaped up a bit and we can use it to carefully see if we can clean off that contamination on there. So it's coming off, and as you can see, it looks a lot cleaner. There's a little tab that's popped out there. I can push with this little safety pin, not safety pin, pinboard pin on it, and that frees up the mechanism to remove that. Now all we've got left to do is to remove this movement holder plastic ring, is to just a little bit of leverage on these little tabs on the inside here, these little grooves. You can just gently lever it against the case, just see it pops out. And you can use some tweezers. These are my Bergion carbon fibre tweezers. I use these because they're never going to scratch or magnetize the movement or anything like that, because these are ideal for this kind of task. Now this is ready to flip out, so we use one of these cushions. It's a movement holder cushion, and then you just flip it over, and there we are. I'll put the case aside because I've got a few things I need to do to that as a separate little part of this project. But the first thing I can do while I'll be moving on to the next part of the project is do a quick little something on here, and I'll push the crown back in. So I carefully place this in here, and you give it a gentle wiggle as you push in, so you're not forcing it, and then it clicks in. And then we know it's in because when I try and pull it out for the hacking, it doesn't come all the way out. So I'm going to set it back to 12 o'clock, and when the seconds hand meets 12 o'clock again, so all the hands are aligned at 12 o'clock, I'm going to pull the crown out. So it keeps all the hands fixed in the 12 o'clock position. And while I'm going to be doing work on this dial and taking the hands off and doing that part of the project, whilst I'll be doing this part of the project, I can leave something soaking. By soaking, I mean this case with this ceramic bezel insert. I want to change this bezel insert, and the way I'm going to remove this safely without damaging it, because I could reuse this for another project, so I do like this black one, is I'm going to place it face down in some isopropyl alcohol, which will soften and melt the glue which holds these bezel inserts in place, and then in about 10 to 15 minutes it should be soft enough for me to literally slide it out. The glue turns to mush, and then I use cotton buds, Q-tips to clean off any residue, and then I can move on to the next part of that project. So while that is soaking, now it's time for me to do the parts of the project for this part of the watch. So what I'm going to do now is I need to take these hands off. Now, as you can see, I've got the crown in the hacking position, so the hands aren't moving around. So before we do this, actually, I want to show you how good the loom is as standard on this watch. So I've got my UV torch. Give this a charge up, turn the lights off. So it's got a fairly bluey hue, and it obviously picks up quite well on the camera, but it's actually relatively dull and a bit grainy and poor in application. If I want to keep this dial and hand set, I'm going to be careful to look after it. So carefully holding the movement and the watch in place, and I slide this dial protector very gently under everything. So I use these levers, this is what I've got at the moment, and you get just these basically just tuck underneath the very bottom hand, the hour hand. And once you've got it under there, one either side, you can just feel it biting. You consistently lever at the same time, and they should pop off. There you go. Now I'm going to keep these hands safe because they're obviously brand new, they've never been used. I'll put them aside carefully. Another good thing about Bergion is you can use it to pick up things, so you don't risk damaging them. So gently place that over there, and now I can just remember the hands are still set and the movement isn't allowing it to move anything beyond what I set it at, was the 12 o'clock position. So I know when I put the new hands on, all I've got to do is put the new hands back on in the same place. So I just get this old dial off, and there's always a gap just about here, and that is where we tuck a screwdriver, and there's just a bit of leverage because this is only held in place with some little feet, and I'll show you them now. So that's how easy it comes off, and they're the feet. I'll keep this aside because I'm going to use the location of those feet to as a reference point for the new dial, which has extra feet to work on a few different movements, which I will need to snip off, which is really easy. I can show you how to do that. So when I put the new dial on, it'll fit perfectly. So I was going to get the other dial out ready to put straight on. Here's the new dial. I got this from Namoki. I've never bought from them before, and I thought I'd try one of their products that's very expensive. It cost me all in about 30 to 40 pounds for this and the hands. It's quite a lot of money, if not more, nearly 50 pounds. And that's almost the cost of the watch. So I don't need that one there. So I'll show you how I take that off. So I'll pick it up with these little pliers, and then I just give it a twist. So that's off. Now this should be ready. I'll get this all out of the way. I'm going to keep that dial safe as it's immaculate. And I know that the crown and the is at the 3 o'clock position, so I can just line this up with the 3 with the crown. The feet will help finish this off. Make a boo-boo like I just done by snapping the wrong foot off around the round here position. Dial dots. I didn't think I'd have to use one of these, but luckily for me, I've got some, and that's for this kind of reason. If you make a mistake of cutting the feet off, it doesn't matter. So you carefully place it around where you want the foot would have gone in there. Place the dial dot there, and then the top part just slides off, as you can see. Then I can just gently fold over and tuck in any excess, which is tucking around the side. So I know that's the 3 o'clock position. That foot's correctly cut. So there, it's on now. It's not going to move because I've got the dial dot the other side holding it. It's totally fine. It all lines up as it should. As you see, the 3 is bang on where the crown is. That's really good. Now I'll get the hands on. Now, going for a stealthy look here. So we've got a nice grey enamel dial. But a good contrast for that would be black hands. So here's the hands with upgraded loom. So I'll keep this little pill pot to put the old hands in because they're brand new. To pick up the first hand, which I need, is the hour hand, and then I can place that with the Rodico and carefully align it with my carbon fibre tweezers to get it in the right place. Now it's lined up roughly. I'm going to press it in with a watch hand presser. And repeat the process with the minute hand. Should get a good movement holder for this, but I haven't got one at the moment. So again, carefully get it so it's on the pins in the middle. And then again, use the press to finish it off. Now's a good time to check for alignment and spacing. That's good. Now let's move it forward, check it works still. That's good, so it lines up. Now it's time for the second hand, which is always very difficult. And that is when you know you've done it. The second hand is the worst. It takes so long, but persevere, you're very careful, take your time, you'll get it on there. So now's a good time to check all the hands aligned. They don't snag, nothing's going to come off. So I'm not quite happy with that second. So I'm going to just gently push that a bit more. So yeah, everything clears itself, or the hands clear the other hands. We don't want any snagging now, do we? So everything clears as it should. So now I'm going to put this aside, make sure my case is doing okay. Let's go and get it. So let's soften the glue up just very gently to finish it off. Bit of leverage under there, and away it comes. All the glue has melted. There we are. Let's put that aside. I'll clean it up and use that for another project one day, I think. But now I need to go back and clean off all the residue and stuff that's stuck in here. So I'm going to do that with just some nail varnish remover or some more of the isopropyl alcohol and clean it all off. But before I do that, I'll make sure I take the crown out of the movement, put it back in here, screw the back up tight. So when I'm doing all the cleaning and the next part of the project, I don't get anything inside the case. So it's all cleaned up. Majority of the old glue is off. And now it's time to remove the Cyclops, and you do that with a little jet lighter. So it's got a smaller little concentrated hot blast of heat, which I'll just keep locating and removing until it will pop off, and you just keep checking it occasionally with a little screwdriver or something just to see if it's loose and pops off. And you shouldn't have to force it. There you go. Just did a little tick. That's the little immediate reaction, you know it's coming off. And there we are. So let's get it out of the way. We need to let this cool down, and because it's a concentrated heat, it hasn't affected the gaskets, because there's been no bubbling up of any of this seal which holds the crystal into the case. Now it's time to put the watch back together, and I've kept this over here. This is an important time to do lots of puffing. So this is when you're rebuilding the watch. So we puff away at the dial. Then what we're going to do is puff away inside the case. Now let's keep this out of the way so it doesn't get in the way. I'll puff inside the case, because when you take a watch apart, you always end up dislodging things. There's little bits of fluff I noticed there. And a good thing to do is to keep cleaning the glass so you can see any imperfections coming through. So once all your puffing's done and you cleaned all the bits off, you simply place the case over like that, flip it over. Then what we need to do is get the crown roughly engaged. You don't push it all the way in, it's just to help align the watch movement inside the case, just like that. Then we get the movement holder back in, line it up where it's supposed to go. Got a little slot ready for where the crown goes through. Gently tweaking it over. So I'm very careful to push this in, not touching the movement, just touch the edges, and that's in. And then same with putting the crown back in, you give it a little tweak as you push it in. So that's in there nicely. Now we can put this seal back in, which I've got here. Put that back in where it's meant to go. Then we put the screw case back on. And before we do that, we always make sure it's clear of dust. The reason why we use a puffer rather than blowing it with our mouths is mouths can spray saliva, and we don't want to be spraying spit over anything to do with your watch. So we've still got a couple more bits to put on this watch to complete the project, and first I'm going to do is put the new bezel insert in. Now this is from DLW Mods, my trusted supplier, which I always use. Fantastic value for money, and the quality is outstanding. Now this insert to work for this type of watch is what they sell for the SKX007, and it's the sloped bezel, not the flat bezel. And that effectively means on a profile, when you look at it this way, it has a sloped design. It's really hard to pick out on the camera, but anyway, you get what I'm saying. Now I need to stick this in place, and it comes with one of these adhesive rings. So let's get that ready. So I'm going to peel off the middle part, so we don't need that. Get that out of the way. You're left with this part. And I'm going to attach this actually to the bezel ring. There we are. And it's good to just give it a push like this on a flat smooth surface, just to make sure it's well pressed in. Now I've got to make this is a stealth bezel insert I went for, because I wanted to get the black to match the black hands. Stealth because this is a little bit more of a explorer diver kind of hybrid, so I don't really need a dive bezel. I just thought I need a pip on there, just so I can have some kind of timing device if I wanted to move this around. And so I still want it to line up with the 12 o'clock position. So before you do that is make sure the bezel is clicked and it's not halfway through a click. So that's ready for me to carefully line up and stick this down. That's all lined up. I'm going to get this on its strap, and then I'm going to show you the loom, and we are done. And there we have it, guys. My explorer, contemporary explorer, I'd say, hybrid with a Submariner homage. It's a real hybrid, but I've gone for a real neutral sort of colorway. It's, you know, the enamel grey and sterile bezel insert, and then we've got a nice black vulcanized rubber strap, which fits perfectly with this case design. I mean, the parts alone worth more than the watch, but put it together, and we've still got, if you want to, the ability to set a time on the bezel. Very happy with that. So let's check out the loom. Now that's what you call an upgrade. Instead of the blue, we've got green, all matching. Look at those hands. It's like a lightsaber, that minute hand. I'm so happy with that. Look at it. Fantastic. So as you can see, with a bit of patience, perseverance, and just give it a go. It's not easy, I must say. There's so much off camera that the second hand takes ages to get on, and there's a bit of tweaking to go with the hands and getting everything to line up, but that's just something you just take your time with. Just persevere with it. You're going to make mistakes along the way. If you just have a vision what you want it to look like when you've got a project in mind, like this has come out exactly how I wanted, and it's come out absolutely spot on. I'm really happy. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've learned something as well, and if you have and you really want to see more of my stuff and you haven't seen any of my stuff before, definitely subscribe, like this video, drop some comments, and I'll see you in the next mod video.